You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, the Holy Trinity. We're back together. We're going to be talking England v South Africa. Is it the death of Bazball? Who knows? And then we'll talk about the 100. That'll be in the second half. So if you're one of our, what looks like many listeners that hates that tournament, stop listening after about half an hour. Anyway, I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe Brown. How you doing, Max?
Hello. Yeah, very good, thank you. And looking forward to, like you say, the three of us back together. The first triumvirate.
Three amigos, would you say, Ross?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, the three must-have beers.
Why not?
I think Max, have you also had a haircut? You're looking well groomed.
Yeah, thank you. It was
I'm
long
the
overdue.
only one. I haven't had a haircut.
One. You're fine.
Fellas, I want to get your thoughts first of all on some important signage that I saw at the 100 this week. I don't know if either of you were paying close attention, but at a Southern Brave game, there was a little boy.
I have seen this
one. Holding up a big sign with "My Dad Heart" drawn in red. This is nice, isn't it? My Dad Heart. Apostrophe S. He's got that right. It's good grammar. My Dad Hearts the cock. Classic, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure we've made that joke on this show. Ross, did you appreciate it?
Yeah, it's quite a hard joke to get into the 100 actually, and I think it's quite nicely done.
It was. I reckon it's a situation where it's a young lad's been shafted by his older brother.
Oh, classic. That's a good one. I like that pun. I think the kid did it. So I've got the picture up here. I think the kid's about 13, just the perfect age for a cock joke, basically. And they know they're wearing a Southern Brave t-shirt, so I think they know that they're in line for a little bit of camera treatment. You know what it's like in that tournament. There's a child, get them on the TV. He's got that sign. He's waited for his moment. Bang, straight up, and he's sort of obscured his face. And he's obscured his face. So actually, I mean, Dad might not even know that Son has done this. It could be completely covert. Although, again, looking at the picture, it looks like Dad is like waving at the camera screen right next to Son. So,
maybe he's got gay dads. Maybe
that's true.
Maybe it's just a factually correct thing that he's gone for and backing the LGBTQ community. Well, fair play.
It could be that. We're going to move on. Max, what are the messages for the listeners?
Messages for the listeners is firstly that kid's dad loves the cock, as we know. Secondly, like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, keep up to date with all of our stuff, and then head over to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us at the Cricket Pod and patreon.com/the Cricket Pod to support us directly for exclusive shows and other good things, access to Discord, etc. And last but not least, this show is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist men's grooming. 20% off at manscaped.com, plus free worldwide shipping with the code CricketPod. It's below us. It's in the show notes. Cricket Pod is the running theme of everything, basically. Just remember that wherever you go.
Yeah, it delivered with a lot, with customary oomph there, Max, those messages. For all the listeners that are still awake, Ross. Ross, we did a little summary, me and Jack Fox. So we're not going to go through the whole Test match. You weren't there for the summary though, so I'm just going to ask you straight up: is Bazball dead? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, explain.
This is a big kind of dissertation. This one. I don't think there's any disgrace in getting out for like 160 at Lords when conditions are in favour of what is a very good South Africa bowling lineup. And yes, there's been some issues. We can kind of talk about those, but we just got outplayed by a better team. It doesn't mean that the whole philosophy gets thrown out, does it? I think it ultimately just means that England have lessons to learn on this Bazball journey. I think there was a lot of trouble, however, with how England did respond in this game. And there was quite a few glaring pieces where you're just like, well, there's a lot of experience on that team and leadership, regardless of if Ben Stokes is new to this leadership role. Sometimes leadership comes from standing up to other leaders, and they've got Stuart Broad, James Anderson, who've got God knows how many wickets between them. They surely saw what was going on when England were just kind of starting to lose more control of the game, and they should have been the ones to go, Ben, hang on a minute, we need to do something about this.
Okay, Max, that means you're going to have to be the Bazball is dead guy here. So can you briefly tell us why Bazball is dead?
It was the honeymoon period. Dean Elgar was right, wasn't he, all along? It was not sustainable, and we've seen now that the whole thing is completely unsustainable because we've lost our first game of cricket in the Bazball world. So it's only downhill from here, and we'll see it all crash and burn. I've absolutely no doubt. No, I mean to say I'm with Ross in that Bazball isn't dead. Is Bazball a thing? I mean, we're running with it.
Was it ever alive? You're going with?
Yeah, was Bazball? Yeah. Bazball's not dead because Bazball was never alive. It's like reverse Schrodinger's cat.
Okay. Well, that's a mind bend. It's a mind bend and a half, is it? Ross, you said that the game got away from England and Anderson and Broad should have stood up to Ben Stokes. What did Ben Stokes do wrong?
So I think England, in terms of the Bazball, I think has been extremely aggressive. That is the whole point in it. And I was a little bit frustrated with just some of the cricket that was being on show because the lower order batters of South Africa, when they were batting, it was farcical. Like there's a bit around putting an extra slip in and trying to make sure that we get another catcher in. And there was 2 catches that actually went through the vacant slip region in the game where we didn't have enough slips in. So you just got his fields a little bit wrong. And there was runs just on offer. Like the ball wasn't really doing too much. Yeah, they were trying to induce a nick through to the slip region, but they just had at one point they just had no one like just protecting any kind of runs. They were just like, no, we've got all catchers really. You can just have as many runs as you possibly want to. Maharaj isn't a very good batsman. Janssen isn't a Test match number 6. Anrik Nortje averages 6, and he got
averages 5, 8 now.
Yeah, got 5 times, 6 times his batting average, and it was a little bit just like they needed someone just to go, hang on a minute here, lads. So there's a bit where they took the new ball, and Ben Stokes continued just coming in, just launching into the surface and trying to bounce out the tail, and we've kind of seen it work to a certain extent, but you're buying wickets. And when you've only got 160 runs on the board, I don't think you have that luxury of being able to buy wickets. You need to be tightening up. You need to be going, right, does 8, 9, 10, 11 actually have the shots to stay in and take on Jimmy Anderson when he's bowling with the new ball? And I just think we got that one wrong.
Okay. I kind of get where you're coming from. I mean, there were a few stats doing the rounds on the internet, on Twitter, suggesting that actually the short ball sort of has been working for England as a tactic, specifically to lower order batters as well. And that although it kind of looks a bit weird, it is quite effective. I have to say, I thought watching this that. And a few people were saying this, weren't they? Oh, Maharaj is a dangerous batsman, and England should have taken him seriously or something like that. As though they just didn't bother trying to bowl to him properly at all. I thought Maharaj batted well. I think South Africa got everything right, and that England lost the game first of all because they got at least 2 passengers in the batting unit. That was covered up massively earlier in the summer, wasn't it? By Root and Bairstow scoring literally all the runs. Like it wasn't. These weren't complete team performances. It was Bairstow and Root scoring all the runs, and Crawley, Lees, and Pope got a 50 once each, or something like that, and maybe Stokes got a 50 once. It was 2 guys. Bazball was really. It was what it was Bazball was Joe Root and somebody else instead of just Joe Root. That was the.
Hey, don't forget about Overton. Don't forget about Overton.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about Overton. So yeah, it was Joe Root, Bairstow, and Jamie Overton. That's what Bazball was. It was those 3 guys actually coming to the party rather than it just being Root. Their bowling was crap earlier in the summer. I mean, people, I don't know if I've forgotten this or something, but they were shipping 500 runs to Daryl Mitchell. It was they couldn't get him out. I don't think it's anything. I don't think really anything's changed here. I just thought a quite samey bowling attack came up against a reasonably determined and semi-competent batting lineup, cashed in for a par scorer on the pitch, and then when it got thrown over, the ball got thrown over to the other side. The same flaws that have been exposed for the 17 pre-Bazball test matches were exposed again. I mean, like the further we get from the weekend or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the more I think that actually the real story of that test match is that England finally came up against a bowling attack that is complete. India picked Shardul Thakur instead of Ravi Ashwin. They had a misfiring Siraj, to say the least, up against them. And then earlier in the year, they had Trent Boult on his last legs, Tim Southey having the worst test series of his last decade, and Matt Henry. It's a big step
don't
up
forget
in
about Martin Bracewell, who's bowled about 3 overs in Test cricket.
Michael.
Well,
yeah.
So I've already forgotten about
exactly.
Just like you and Travis Head.
Yeah. You Matthew Wade.
so, Jack, it's interesting you kind of say that, because I think when it comes to this lineup, South Africa's approach, we talked about it's a bit more pragmatic, right? It is a bit more kind of we try and do the basics right, do the basics really well, and then we still get to be aggressive because we are doing all the basics right. But Max, a question for you here. Who do you think in minutes batted longer, South Africa or England?
In minutes.
So collectively, they're batsmen.
The 2 innings against the 1 innings. I think it was probably South Africa. I think we did we even last like 80 overs in the end. I think South Africa must have batted for longer than us. So the whole.
I think we did 83 overs.
Yeah.
I say we. I had no part in it. England.
Although England do take a while, don't they, with the ball in the field? So there's that to add to it as well.
Yeah, South Africa batted for 828 minutes in their first innings. England managed 418, and then we were all out for 360 minutes in the next one.
Yeah, so South Africa about 40 minutes in it, was it?
Yeah, there was that bit of like Test cricket is somewhat about batting time, and as we said, first innings Lords, first day of Lords against that bowling lineup on a, let's be fair, a bit of a green one, but not a ridiculous pitch. But England in the second innings, what the fuck were they doing? Like it was. Like there was no plan. There was nothing about them. I was sitting there going, "Yep, we've got a chance here." And Jack, I think you said after, like in the morning of the game, you're like, "This will be over today." And it
was quite clear. Yeah. Well, again, this comes back to the fact of the matter is that England aren't very good at batting.
And South Africa are really good at bowling.
I know. Everyone. It was a great transformation, and they are better at batting now because Bairstow's learned how to bat again, and that really is it, isn't it? Like Bairstow's learned how to bat again, but they're not. He's not turned into Don Bradman on roids, has he? He's still just Johnny Bairstow who's had a couple of good innings. Like it's.
He is still liable to miss a straight one in the first.
There's still limitations there, and basically South Africa. I've said this already. We're just too good. Nortje, especially in that second innings. He bowled too fast for England to deal with. Like the speed he let go of the ball at was too much for England. Dean Elgar was saying this. He was saying England was fearful or something like that. And I think I don't.
Rightly so. I'd be fearful.
I think he said it looked like it would be quite scary to face. He didn't say England was scared, but the implication was that they were scared, and that's probably true. I mean,
I liked his celebrations. They were very much. He was fast and furious. Like
well, I mean,
too fast, too furious.
He was too fast, too furious, and that again is a big difference, isn't it? Like nobody in world cricket, I don't think, bowls sustained. He bowled 6 overs at like 92 miles an hour.
Maybe Mark Wood can do that. Can I ask a question to Max around the chief pooper of pants, which was Ben Foakes. Ben Foakes looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but facing Nortje.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And my question, Max, is you're a big buyer of Ben Folkes. You've been the staunch since we started this podcast saying that Ben Folkes is the answer. In 2022, he's played 7 Test matches, batted 13 times. He's got currently an average of 20.
Mm-hmm. How's that compared to Zak Crawley?
Well, Zak Crawley's not the it's not the fucking benchmark, is it?
No, but I mean, you're obviously you have an agenda here, Ross.
No, I don't have an agenda. I'm going to just put it out there saying that what is England's first? Jack's to say that we've got pretty much 2 or 3 batsmen at a time in a game. We've got a number 7 who is good?
He's in my list. I think Crawley, Lees, and Folkes probably aren't good enough. And the Lees is out the team bandwagon.
Yeah,
I can't. You're not in Haydos territory after one game.
I don't know how much Ben Folkes has faced 90 plus miles an hour with the Red Bull before. I mean,
I don't think anyone really has.
But
Max, I was being like playing that kind of bowling is very, very challenging. But there's always questions around.
Well, it's the question about how he bounces back, isn't it?
And the wicketkeepers.
We need to see a response in the next couple of games that shows he is able to stand up to it, and he's a bit less dangly the batty. Because the ball's really fast kind of approach.
I was hoping you were going to continue that.
Try and get behind
the batty because the ball's fasty.
Yeah, dangling the batty. But I mean, that's a bit what it was, wasn't it? I mean, England just were beaten by a better team, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's what fundamentally it comes down to. Should we talk about Zak Crawley?
Shit.
Yeah. There's a good quote about Zak. There's a really good quote about Zak Crawley from Brendan McCullum.
It's fantastic.
I look at a guy like Zak, and his skill set is not to be a consistent cricketer. He's not that type of player.
Perfect. Let's have him opening for England.
That's pretty astonishing, isn't it? He goes on. He says he's put in that situation because he has a game which, when he gets going, he can win matches for England. It was put to McCullum that he should drop Crawley, and he said that's not how I think. We want to keep giving our guys opportunities. Then their skill and talent can come out. We have to be really positive about the language we use with him and be really consistent with the selection around that to keep giving guys opportunities. Selection loyalty is really, really important. Not only does it build loyalty from the guys in the side, it also builds loyalty from the guys on the outside because they know when their opportunity does come, they will be afforded the same loyalty. Now, the initial quote there, I look at a guy like Zak and his skill set, is not to be a consistent cricketer. He's not that type of player. Does speak volumes, I think. It is very difficult.
Very much to unpack with that.
Yeah, well, we can get there. I think it's very difficult to square that part of the statement with the loyalty bit at the bottom. What are you saying there? You're saying you're going to be loyal to a player who is not going to be consistently good. Discuss, Max.
I think it's less about like the consistently good in general as like the position he occupies in the cricket team, which is opening the batting. And if there is one position, I think, in the cricket team, perhaps other than keeping wicket, where you need to be fairly consistently good at catching the ball, is probably opening the batting, in that you want to be fairly consistently able to, not fail. Because, all right, you're not going to score 100 every game because it's the hardest place to bat. But you want to be able to at least, stick around and try and take some of the shine off the new ball, try and get a bit of a grounding in the game. And to be going in with someone who you are literally saying, maybe like 1 in 4 times is going to come and smack an attack all over the place, and the rest of the time you're just going to be having Joe Root coming in to face the new ball after 8 overs. It seems pretty insane way to approach the makeup of a game of Test cricket. Bazball or no Bazball, I think it transcends the discussion about Bazball. I think it just comes down to logic and common sense at that point. It feels to me a little bit like saying you're going to pick Ronaldo at centre back because he's a match winner. He might, be out of position quite a lot, but every now and then he's going to pop up from nowhere with a 30-yard screamer and win you a game.
That's quite a good analogy. It's a better analogy than I thought it was going to be. Ross, I'm a bit bored of Zak Crawley. I hope they drop him just so we can talk about something else. Do you have any more words? they're going to pick him, aren't they? That's going to happen.
I think Rob Keys took over and said England is not going to be a boys' club. That was kind of his mantra, and it's very much still a boys' club. It's very much still kind of if you face fits, that kind of approach. And I don't mind England having a philosophy and then picking players on that philosophy. But talking about an inconsistent player in Zak Crawley, if he was pretty much his lowest scores were typically 25 or 30, and then it was every 4 games or every 4 innings he was getting a 70 odd or 100. People are sitting there going, fucking hell, this guy, yeah, obviously he's in. If he's getting 100 every 4 innings, he's obviously fucking amazing. But there's that piece where
he'll be twice as good as Brian Lara's record.
Well, 50 whatever. But you need to see a little bit more. You can't go, the guy's inconsistent and he gets 6 zeros on the bounce and then gets a 30. That you
that's
can't.
The other thing. You can be inconsistent and average 40 and be like, or average even 35. Average 30, average 35. Be like, okay, well, he's inconsistent, but over the course of his life or career, he will, do a good job. But he's inconsistent and averaging about 12 in the last 2 years, isn't he? Something.
Yeah. Let's talk about potential changes for England. Okay. Yeah. Do you want Zak Crawley to be a bowler?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I've not seen him bowl yet, and maybe that's the hidden talent.
He's tall, good release point. High release point. Let's speak about changes next week. So I think they are going to keep the top 7 the same, aren't they? All the words that they're using suggest that there are going to be no changes to the
It is just one game. It is just one game. I do.
I don't mind the loyalty point.
It isn't just one game, though, is it?
He got 40 in the last game, and he was looking better. In this one, he kind of got through the new ball, as Max was saying, and then played all around the straight one to Maharaj.
This is all relative, though. He got 40 in the last match. That's
but I'm Zak Crawley's dad in this situation. I'm going to bat for the boy.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should get back to the fucking golf course and let the professionals talk about who should play for England. Changes for England, maybe on the bowling side, though. Because that's what you do, isn't it? When you've been bowled out for under 200 twice, you change some bowlers. It's at Old Trafford, so I think we can assume that Jackie Leach will stay in the side. Anderson, Broad, Potts. Do they keep that the same? I mean, Anderson had a pretty good Test match. I think Broad eventually picked up some wickets. I think Potts might have eventually picked up a couple of wickets as well. But I wouldn't say it was a vintage bowling performance. I think they were comfortably out-bowled by the opposition. Who do we kill? in the metaphorical sense.
So my view is that they've done what they did in the Ashes last year and fucked up the selection first time round, and are now kind of stuck with who they should play. I think they should have picked Ollie Robinson for the Lord's Test match, and then gone, right, you've done well there, mate, but you're knackered. You've played this. We can bring in Broad, who he might have played for, or Potts, who he might have played for, and it might have been a better approach. I think bringing in Robinson for this Test match would be probably a mistake at Old Trafford.
Okay, what's your reasoning for this?
He averages under 20 at Lords. I think when you go to Old Trafford, it's not been a happy hunting ground in particular for England's bowling lineup, I think.
So we should just pick an extra batter instead.
It can't be any worse, can it, Max?
Darren Stevens?
You want to know Broad's average at Old Trafford? He's played quite a few matches there.
27.
28.6. So is that about his career average? Slightly over. It's not ridiculously bad. I'm not sure Robinson will have played there in his career, because he was only in the team for last summer. And the Old Trafford Test was postponed so that England could beat India at Edgbaston this year. I don't know. I think on past performance, I'm not 100% sure I agree with that. I'd leave one of Broad or Potts out for Robinson, because I think England really laboured not having anybody that was different. And Robinson is different.
I think we have to pick Robinson for that point of difference reason. It's what sort of when we were talking about it before, and having Ben Stokes come in and bowling on one leg to try and be that point of difference, and doing what he did with the short ball, wherever, whether or not you think he overdid it, particularly with the new ball second time round, but it broke the game open a bit in the first instance, and it was quite useful. But Yeah,
Ollie Robinson also bowls off spin, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
True.
That's true. So we've got both spin options covered.
Yeah.
I would lean towards leaving out Matthew Potts just because I know it didn't really work very well in at Lords, but like you said, well, Stuart Broad's reasonable record at Old Trafford, and again with the two left-handed openers that South Africa have, and Stuart Broad's particular skill set of bowling around the wicket to left-handers, I think it's worth keeping him in from that point of view, and then have Ollie Robinson with the high release point that he has, and just sort of the slightly more metronomic accurate.
I don't disagree, by the way. I just kind of thought it would have been better off picking Robinson for that test match.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
that's the way I'd have gone.
Yeah.
I'd have picked the guy who was made for Lords. How many bowlers that are tall and hit a good line and length do well at Lords? All of them.
You've won a car. Come on down.
So why when you have that would you be like, no, we'll go for the short guy?
And they obviously picked him for that warm-up game with the intention of trying to get him in the team.
I don't know. I mean, it's England, isn't it? There's a couple of other things I wanted to touch upon. Firstly, South Africa, they're a good team. The Future Tours program announcement from the ICC, though, and the Cricket South Africa are basically complicit in this, has them playing, I think, an average of 5.5 test matches a year for the next half a decade. That's quite poor, isn't it? Like that. I think the only team that they play a 3-match series against is Australia, or potentially Australia and England in the next 5 years. Even India, they're only playing twice. I mean, that for what might be the best bowling attack in the world is a bit of a tragedy for the game, isn't it, Max?
Yeah, it's a real shame. They're just coming into a period where they should be reaching kind of a nice peak as well. The Rabada, Nortje are in sort of prime fettle, aren't they? You got the youth coming through with Marco Jansen and some of the batters, and in terms of the cycle that they're in, they've got a really nice balance of experience, younger guys coming through, and people who are sort of in their prime. So it's really really disappointing from cricket's point of view that we're not going to get to see much of them. And it's even more weird with that India. I mean, the first section of the Future Tours program with the World Test Championship, the next World Test Championship, they've got India first up, haven't they? 2 tests against India, right in the middle of where their new T20 tournament is set to be as well, which is insanity. And then they're playing West Indies, Pakistan, Bangladesh, I think, and it's just a bit of a strange one. It's not till the second bit where they play Australia and England, so you're sort of getting like the kind of the feeling that they're sort of being put in as like a sort of second-rate test nation, which is probably not really where they're heading. Yeah,
it's a shame. Ross, what can they do to change it?
Well, this is
nothing.
Well, I think you have to. You need to go back in time by 15 years. That's what needs to happen. Like this is the consequence of horrendous management of that whole kind of cricketing body, right? There's been corruption. There's been just fuck up after fuck up, really, on it. And now they don't have enough money in the coffers. They spent it all on the guys with nets trying to catch balls at their three-team triumvirate tournament.
Oh yeah.
And you're kind of looking back and going, look, the consequence of design, the consequence of those business decisions has forced their hand to go, do you know what, we need to bring more money in, and actually T20 cricket is going to bring more money into it. They can't do loss-leading test matches anymore.
The only test series that they make money from is India, and they're doing that during the T20 series.
So I wondered whether this was actually true, to be honest. I'm not their accountant. I'm not their accountant, but I find it very difficult to believe that South Africa don't make money from England touring. It's in the same time zone.
Yeah,
it's thousands of England fans go there and buy Castlemaine lager all day. If you're not making money there, you've got
something's going on.
Something's gone really badly wrong. Yeah. Now I know India, you'll make more money from India because any cricket in the world, 20 million people are going to watch it in India. So that's the really lucrative one. But there'll be 1 million people in England that will watch some of a test match, or a big chunk of a test match in the same time zone in South Africa. And as I said, more that
but perhaps they're not basing it on, I don't know, people coming to the ground and going to South Africa and spending piles of money on.
Maybe this goes back to Ross's business management point. Like, if you can't sell the TV rights to an England Test series in an English time zone, you are a fool.
Fundamentally, we should do a whole show on how cricket business South Africa and just show how fucking stupid they've been. But then it's just really unfortunate. And what you end up now seeing is that the likes of Dewald Brevis, Tristan Stubbs, they're not going to play Test cricket. Like, they're going to start to the conveyor belt of talent that they need to have. Is going to come through the T20 teams, and there's probably going to be nothing wrong with that. They might play a little bit, but I don't know. Are they really going to do what Marco Janssen's doing and doing both? I'm not sure.
I think South Africa will probably remain competitive because they produce a lot of players. But half of the county circuit is South African.
Not for much longer.
No, well, I think they'll probably be. I think they'll be able to field a competitive side for the foreseeable. And if this T20 tournament works, then that might partially resolve the money situation. But it's a great shame they're going to play 28 tests in 5 years. That is bad. Right, predictions for next week, and then we'll do a few questions. Then we'll end part one of the show. So it's Old Trafford. Who's going to win, Ross?
I think South Africa have set down the marker here. I wasn't totally convinced by their short tail with Janssen at 6, and I don't think Verinen's up to that much. He might have a test century, but I'm not convinced he's a test level player. But they'll bring in Simon Harmer, I'm assuming, for this match. So they'll have. I'm not sure who drops out of that lineup. Ngidi, maybe.
Are you going to go 3 and 2?
Yeah, I think. I think England's weakness is their batting. You want to have a good bowling lineup and take them on that way. I think would be my preference.
If England's weakness is their batting, do you need 2 spinners? Because Maharaj was barely needed in the first innings.
But at Old Trafford, typically spinners do pretty well. I
would play the same team. They barely bowled, did they? I mean, Rabada literally bowled 1.5 spells in the second innings. They were like, we've got a guy with a little bit of an ankle problem. He's our best bowler. England are so shit. We're not even going to properly use him. We're just going to let him sit in the dressing room.
Yeah,
Janssen and Norkia bowled 6 overs each, and they just blew England away.
Well, I think that. Well, I still think they'll go 2 spinners. I think Harbour will come into the side for Ngidi, and they will do that. Maybe. And I think South Africa will win.
Max,
I don't think they will change it. I think they'll stick with the same lineup because Old Trafford does take spin, but it's also reasonably quick as well. So stick with it. Blow England away again. I can't see anything other than South Africa winning again with the with the sort of the. I mean, it's a quick turnaround. England's wounds will be raw. They'll have to come out and try and do something and try and impose themselves on the game. But I still don't see them having an answer to Rabada and Norkia.
I think England can win, and I think England will win. I think that South Africa's batting is pretty bad. And in the right circumstances, they are well capable of being bowled out for 150 themselves. And England, we probably saw the worst of them.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, I think in slightly flatter conditions, they will be more competitive. And I don't see the curators or groundsmen, whatever you want to call them, at Old Trafford doing what the MCC numbskulls did. And
I think that's actually a really good
preparing a pitch that really brings all of the South African seamers into the game. I think it'll be a lot flatter.
I think that's quite an interesting point you raised there. Like, even Lords need to make revenue, and it was pretty. You've seen what works for England. You've just got. They're just like, we don't want to give away tickets for £5 on the final day. Really, we'll get this game over by day 3.
You know what it was? They heard that Piers Morgan was coming to town for day 4, and prepared a terrible one as a result. Right, a few questions. Some of these are about the L100 Aero, so we might do them in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Paul asked what went wrong at Lords. I think we've done that, so
Yeah.
we'll acknowledge Paul for saying it. G says, why are England persisting with their current approach bowling to the tail when it's clearly not working? I think we've sort of done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna park.
We're doing well here, lads. We're doing well.
We're gonna park both of those, and then we've got Dan. No county cricket at all over the August bank holiday weekend on a disgraceful scale of 0 to 100, where 0 is disgraceful and 100 is what the fuck. What would you rate that decision? Max, you're the county cricket king.
Right, so 100, the bottom of the scale is disgraceful anyway.
Yeah, we'll change the scale. 1 to 10. Let's just do 1 to 10 to make it simple for you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dumb. Maybe have it as a 6. You know, it's a good opportunity to get people to actually go to a county championship game, but it's kind of the reality we have to face now, isn't it? The 100 is the what they're trying to push, and they have a window for the 100, and we're in that window. So it's a shame that there isn't an opportunity to go and see some county cricket in that time. But you know,
I would like to see what actually and don't get me wrong, like there's championship fans, there's 100 fans or whatever. What I would quite like to see is what the attendance would actually be on that kind of stuff, because it's all well and good saying make it available and people will come, and that is a very valid argument. But if you take what's happened over the last few years, if England have played on, or if we have got county games on bank holidays and stuff like that and on weekends, what the attendance actually is, because it's kind of an easy brush to use.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think generally it is reasonable. Maybe at some places more than others. You know, I'm thinking like classically like the Oval and Lords, you do tend to get quite a few people in. I think it'd be a really. And this bit, I think they're onto something in terms of saying we should make it available, but it would. Our other argument is going, would we actually get people?
I mean, I think what's weird is that they could play some Royal London One Day Cup games, couldn't they? Like they're not playing any county cricket at all. It doesn't have to be the championship. But
and I mean, I was at the Oval for the One Day Cup on Friday in the afternoon, and there were train strikes on, and there was a decent turnout.
Do you want to know what I sort of think about this as well? Like, to a reasonable extent, counties are responsible for setting their own fixture list. But
they can't play during the 100 window, can they?
What do you mean they can't? They
play the county championship. They can do one day.
We're not talking about that. There's no county cricket is the point.
Right.
So they could very well play. They could play all 3 days if they wanted to. But they haven't. They, as a collective, they haven't scheduled their fixtures that way, and that is stupid. Yeah. And to some extent, and this might be a bit controversial, to some extent, I think they needed some of that power taken off them in terms of when games are played and how visible they are. Because if you don't, it sounds brutal, if you don't take it away from people who want to watch cricket 11 till 6. Monday to Friday, because that suits their very particular lifestyle, then it won't ever be shown in front of other people. It's because some of what's happened in cricket is because of stubbornness around issues like that. And I'm sympathetic to members who look at August and think this is a bit shit. Yeah. And I understand that, but there have been entire seasons where the counties have collaborated together to not play any cricket. I think it was 2 years ago, 2019. There were no county championship fixtures played over the weekend, the entire summer. That's insane. Like, that isn't the ECB doing that. That isn't the 100's fault. That is bad management of a membership organization which is owned effectively by the members. So you made your own bed to some extent.
What's the diversity of that membership group, right?
That is it. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of good arguments you can make around the English summer and scheduling and tournaments that have been created and haven't been created, and where you could have spent the marketing budget. I think it isn't a closed. Well, I mean, the decision has been made. The decision is final, but I think there are reasonable arguments either way. The reality is, though, that wasn't going to change. Like there weren't people actively doing these things. It was a complete fluke, and everyone involved in it would admit it was a complete fluke that T20 cricket worked in the first place. It wasn't supposed to. It was like nobody thought it would. It was a complete, joke, basically.
Australia still win, even when they think it's a joke.
Yeah, anyway, let's end part one.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.